ground, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling? Welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle. The hardest part of the ring. How are we doing today, folks? You ready for some 2003 Ring of Honor? Are you ready for Bryan Danielson and AJ Styles kicking the living dog shit out of each other? Are you ready for the Briscoes aligning with Jim Cornette? Are you ready? Are you ready for Teddy Hart puking off a cage? Well, if you're ready for all three of those things specifically, if that's what you're thirsty for, Daddy's got you here today, because we're talking about Ring of Honor Main Event Spectacles 2003. And what a show. What a spectacle it was, as per advertised. You can't sue him for slander, that's for sure. We get into a lot of stuff here. We got a great show ahead of you, so I'll keep this short and sweet, but just want to lay this out here. Maybe the best Ring of Honor show up to this point. I don't know. I'd have to review the tape, but you got a lot. The show just paced well. You got a little bit of everything. We got a scramble cage match, which is insanity, with a lot to get into there. There's like 8 or 10 guys, whatever it was, just jumping off cages, landing on their heads, fucking bleeding everywhere, puking everywhere. And you got, the good work rate stuff with the Field of Honor. We got a fantastic match between Homicide and BJ Whitmer. Definitely the best BJ Whitmer match that at least I've seen so far. And then, like I said, you got Bryan Danielson, AJ Styles in the main event for the #1 contendership. We got a 4-way, maybe the most star-studded 4-way that Ring of Honor has put on at this point. Tag team title implications all over the show. Jim Cornette's here. Nigel McGuinness is back. Like, good googly moogly. What more could you ask for from Ring of Honor? I'm just raring to go here. So let's get right into it. But first, I gotta give a shout out ski to my 3 beautiful, beautiful guests from this show, representing the Shining Wizards Network, specifically from the ROH Revelry podcast. High five, Tom, Will, and Brundan, all hopping inside me to cover some Ring of Honor today. The ROH, the Shining Wizards Network, they got a whole cast of characters. Such an amazing collection of different podcasts. Obviously, you have the Shining Wizards, who I've had Matt on several times on this podcast. You got the Year of Duke and Rogue, of course. Again, former guests of the Apron Bump. Tots Pod, 30 Screams or Less. A ton of variety on the Shining Wizards Network. And you can go to wherever you listen to podcasts, search out the Shining Wizards Network, or just check out the description. All that info will be there for you. But ROH Revelry specifically, hosted by High Five Tom. They basically go 10 years in the past from the day they record and cover an old Ring of Honor show. Now, they do retro Ring of Honor, but they're a little bit more modern than I am. So they're like 2013, stuff like that. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening. It was a weird era for Ring of Honor, but there's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff. But if you like Ring of Honor, which you hit play on this episode, I assume you at least tolerate it, go check out ROH Revelry, presented by the Shining Wizards Network. All that info will be in the description below. Great podcast, very entertaining. Just a pleasant group of folks is all I could really say. just a pleasure to listen to. And you will find that out on this upcoming episode. Apron Bump. Make sure to follow me at Apron Bump on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, UJizz, all that stuff. If you like Ring of Honor, by the way, if you don't get enough from this episode, if you don't get enough from the ROH Revelry podcast, hey, you want to listen to all of the Ring of Honor shows from the very beginning, every single show, well, go to apronbump.com, go to the episodes tab, and select Ring of Honor, and that'll bring you to all of the Ring of Honor shows that I've covered, which is every single one since the very beginning. An era of honor begins back in February of 2002, all the way up to now, November of 03. There's a lot of good, a lot of bad, but it's always wearing baggy metallic pants because it's, early 2000s indie. So do that. I've babbled enough. Let's get to the show. Ring of Honor Main Event Spectacles 2003 with myself and Tom, Will, and Brundan from the ROH Revelry podcast. No, I'm on the same boat with you guys. Don't worry. I just started. I think it was your latest episode. I'm like halfway through it.
All right. So, Graham's a good dude. I like Graham.
Yeah.
Except for the fact he hates Big Lebowski. That hurt.
Well, and he hates Olive too. So.
Well, so does everybody else on your podcast.
Oh boy, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me about the olives. You're gonna leave the room when you get my opinion. If you think I hate trains, let me tell you about my opinion on olives.
Yeah. Well, the Wizards ask everyone if they've ever shit their pants. I think everything's gonna be who likes olives. So.
Well, when Will gets here, that's the first thing I'm gonna ask him is when was the last time he shit his pants, just to make him feel at home.
There we go.
Hey,
what's up, Will? When's the last time you shit your pants?
I've had some close calls recently, but it's been a while. And I'm glad Tom didn't say anything too inflammatory because I was sitting here for a couple minutes waiting.
Oh, I guess because they can't see. I saw you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I haven't really. I coughed earlier this morning and I felt it prairie dog out of me. But I haven't done a full on shit in a long time. So
I've had to push it back in a couple of times.
Push it back in, like with your fingers?
Really close.
Like you have to reach in there and pet it back in?
No, but like stand there and clench. Like, all right, this might go, but let me stand here. It might be good now. I'm like,
the other day I had to do the airdrop. I had to throw my ass into the bathroom and I threw myself like ass first. And I'm like, I hope I make it.
Yeah.
You call that an airdrop, huh? That's what we call it in the biz?
Nothing but net. It was perfect.
It's impressive. That should be on ESPN. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of tight
at least
spinkers,
one of them, like ESPN 9.
Did you guys know that the Ocho is a real channel now, like from Dodgeball?
I'm not surprised.
That's an ESPN one, right?
Yeah. It was originally just from the movie Dodgeball, but now it's I just saw they had the Tetris World Championship on there.
Fuck yeah!
I'm not kidding. I can't imagine. I'm hooked in now. I'm gonna go see what's on after we do this. Got to be something good, right?
I keep pushing wherever I work to have like a company cornhole team because I'm like, if cornhole can make it on ESPN, I have a chance.
I always see it like at restaurants and bars and stuff. It's always on the TV. I guess people are hungry to. I guess it's a good bar, like while you're drinking, just in the background kind of thing.
Well, it's better than axe throwing. Have you guys ever done the axe throwing in a bar?
Not at a bar. I've gone to a place and done it.
It's like, yeah, who thought it was a good idea to combine axes and alcohol? I thought it was a straight up Wisconsin thing, but no, it looks like it's national. So.
Yeah, we got it in Virginia too. Yeah, that's one of those things you do one time and you're like, I'm set forever, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt it the day afterwards.
Did you get hit with an axe?
No, but throwing axes for about an hour when you don't do anything else. Yeah, it adds up.
I was pretty sure I was not a Viking, but after axe throwing, I kind of confirmed I'm definitely not a Viking build. So
I did use the tomahawks though. I didn't go for like the big axes.
Oh, we gotta go big, man.
I did a few times, but I like throwing the tomahawks and just hitting the target.
I guess it's the way to go. There was one, I threw an axe and it bounced back at me, and my wife hid behind me as if I don't also get hurt by axes. So that's where we're at.
That's awesome. Do you have any kids, Kyle?
I do not. I have 2 cats, which is the same, I think.
Right. Yeah. Same boat here. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Will's got 2 cats. And
do we all have cats?
Nah, I have a dog and a kid.
All right. How do we kick people from the room so we can just?
I had cats, if that helps.
Okay. Well, you can talk about
my
your
wife's allergic. It's my wife or the cats, and yeah,
she'll be fine.
She'll have the kids.
It's all right. Brundan's a cat. It'll make sense on Saturday when our episode comes out.
That's fine. I don't even want the context. He's just a cat in my eyes now.
Neither do I, so this should be good.
Well,
I was firing on all cylinders on Saturday or on Tuesday. So
I was not. So it was kind of ironic. I was just like, "Fuck this! This is stupid."
That's why you guys are a good team.
and what a tease! Now you got me itching to listen.
And then then last night I was at Miller Park till 1:00 setting up this concert. So,
what concert?
Pink is coming to Milwaukee.
Ooh, what's your favorite Pink? Top 10 Pink songs? Go.
I don't know if I go top 10, but that one's really good. I mean, look, that Party Started song is really good.
Yeah.
The Give Me a Reason song is really good. Like I know, that with that one guy.
I don't know if I can name 10 at this point.
Yeah. I couldn't either.
I know that's probably the worst Aerosmith song is Pink.
That's something. All right. Yeah. All right. We could just have a Pink podcast actually instead of Ring of Honor. Pink and cats.
As I go.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor.
There's Pink Mass, the porno grind band.
That sounds made up, but I'm with it.
Oh no, they hit Ralph's Rock Diner in Worcester pretty much every year.
All of these things you're saying sound made up, but
yeah, Will's definitely got his finger on the pulse. So,
well, we all got our fingers on the pulse of 2003 Ring of Honor. At least I hope we do. Yeah. Main event spectacles.
I'm not going to lie, my ass is a little chapped because this show is way better than shit Tom's got me watching right now. So thanks, Kyle. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because you're talking about what's Scrum? Not Scrum. What's the stupid Scum? That's around the time I checked out of Ring of Honor.
We're in like that post nut clarity of Scum right now, where there's really nothing going on because like that was the only story they were really working on.
Right. Yeah, that was.
And they're like, there's no Scum. It's like, all right, so what do you got? We got a clip show next week.
Here's Roddy Strong as champion, huh? That's fun, right? Which I guess it was, but
I take it at this point.
Yeah.
Mr. Personality, so Mr. Roddy versus the world, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, we're almost at Roddy. We're almost at Roddy era.
I got my John Cena shirt on.
I saw that.
It's actually the Bryan Danielson t-shirt. If I remember correctly.
That's true.
As well as this one.
Nice.
I mean, we'll get into it, but that motherfucker's not aged a goddamn bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Danielson? Oh, man, he was looking especially yoked in this show, but yeah, he's still, to your point. He's that vegan lifestyle, he might be onto something, man. I'm telling you.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So overall thoughts? I assume everybody had the chance to check out the show. We'll obviously dive into all the matches and stuff, but just overall.
So I told Tom I'm salty because I just had the main event left, and I was supposed to be out of work at 2:30 today, and I didn't get out until 5:00.
Oh damn! It's okay. It's a good match. It's a great match.
These schmucks that I work with.
You couldn't just tell them you had AJ Styles and Bryan Danielson to watch. You couldn't just be like, "Hey guys,
I wish that would work." I wish that would work. I got up to the point where the camera zooms in on Danielson's knee being busted open from the barricade.
Ooh, that barricade, man! All over the years, that's hurt a lot of people.
Where were you sitting, Brundan?
I was third row behind the hard cam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because you were at the show. This show,
I was.
Right?
Yeah, I was at nearly every single show they had at the Brexplex.
Really?
Yeah, so it was pretty nifty.
Yeah, because I was gonna.
Danielson yelling at you?
No, thankfully.
Die! No, that was Punk. He was yelling at. There was a fan yelling at.
Oh,
Punk.
that guy. I have it in my notes.
Oh my god! Wait, was that bald guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's check it out, man.
What's his name? Nick Numbers or something like that. I actually remember that guy.
Dude needs to touch grass in a bad way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brundan, so you were at the show. How the atmosphere felt like it was something. Like how did this show compare to other shows that you went to for Ring of Honor?
It was, I mean, like basically every show at the Rexplex was freaking great. Like the atmosphere there was amazing. The fans were there to have a good time. So this one was certainly no less amazing. So yeah, it was damn cool.
Yeah,
I wish that and the place closed down. Otherwise, they probably could have kept running there because, like, when they started and every show afterwards, they would get bigger and bigger and be their biggest show of ever at that point. Mm-hmm. I think there was either 1,000 or 1,200 people there.
Oh.
Yeah, so they could pack that place in.
It's pretty dense too. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
It's got a sick name too, the Rexplex. Like, where you going? I'm hitting the Rexplex.
You could watch wrestling and then go next door and play soccer. So
yeah, I was gonna say, did anyone ever do any moves off the basketball hoop or anything off that?
No, unfortunately not. I don't think they even really ever fought outside of the place. You probably couldn't, because if you fought outside of the place, there'd just be a bunch of people running around and their kids, and lawsuits are coming.
Gross.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, it's a real missed opportunity that no one ever seems to take advantage of these basketball hoops. All these high school gyms people are wrestling in. Nobody. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but I feel like it doesn't happen as often as you would think.
I can specifically remember Human Tornado, if you guys remember him doing it.
Yes. Wow, you sparked a memory in my head.
Doing a dunk and catching a guy off the rim and hurricanrunning him.
Oh, man. Whatever happened to that guy?
He got sick, I think.
Oh, really?
I think he got he might have gotten hepatitis or something like that. Been one of those guys.
I heard something recently about him making a comeback. I could be completely
that would be
wrong,
awesome.
Though.
He was great.
Okay, it's not the first thing that comes up when you type in Human Tornado.
Yeah, he knocked out Candice LeRae one time in PWG. So
yes, he did.
To the top of his resume. That's fun.
He was fucking sick though. A couple matches I saw.
Oh, he was fantastic. Good old Craig Williams. 40 years old. He's still around.
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
Is he still wrestling?
That is a great question. He returned in 2021. Had a match. It looked like it was just a one-off thing though. So I think he's semi-retired.
Yeah.
He's still around doing stuff.
He did some Ring of Honor stuff, I believe, at one point or another. Mm-hmm. Probably one of those guys that came in for a do or die and had a couple of matches here and there, or joined the embassy at the end or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I can get with that. But yeah, man. I mean, so this show, one thing about this show that I really liked is that it was pretty light on the backstage segments, because in this era, really, I mean, they were never particularly good in Ring of Honor, no matter what era you're in. But they were pretty light in this show, which I think paced. Because sometimes I sit down and watch a Ring of Honor show in this era, and it just feels like it takes forever to finish, just because there's so much fluff and filler bullshit. But there was actually not that many matches on this card, plus not too many segments, so it felt like every match had time to breathe for the appropriate amount of time. But we do open up the show though with good old Colt Cabana doing some yoga or meditation backstage in a crowded hallway, by the way, which always these backstage interviews, you just hear people talking in the background. Him and CM Punk are talking. It's supposed to be this real intense conversation. You just hear people bullshitting right behind the camera. I mean, any thoughts on this opening segment here with the Second City Saints, or just kind of just the production in general, I guess?
Well, I do want to mention that Colt Cabana is wearing a University of Wisconsin Whitewater t-shirt in this promo, which is right down the road. A lot of kids I went to high school with went to college there. And 96 and 97, the Packers were really good. They would riot after every single Packer win.
Animals.
It was that kind of college. But yeah, that was a big thing. And obviously, Punk wants him to beat Danny Moff, who also in turn, I don't mean to bogart the whole thing, was the first person to ever follow me on Twitter.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah. Not somebody I know, just randomly Danny Moff.
No, and you support everything he's done in his life. I get it.
Well, it's not. Maybe not everything.
He did just do XPW, so not everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta watch some XPW sometime.
I
mean,
I was a little bummed only because like this is my first time seeing like the Second City Saints like kind of like in that time period. Like I've seen Colt Cabana later, and I saw CM Punk through like the WWE CW and like the WWE runs, and then like AEW. So to kind of see that and just know it's like, damn, these two used to be like
besties,
the best friends,
right?
And to know now, it's like, damn, they probably like who because I don't need to know because it's none of my business, but it's like I kind of want to know. It's like I hope they like patch things up or like find some way to, because it's like it's your boy, and to know it's like, damn, 10 years ago, it's like you're basically opening the show,
right?
And now it's like 20 years later, and it's like, oh yeah, they probably hate each other now.
Yeah.
Were there? It was just they were just the two of them were the Second City Saints. It wasn't like a whole faction.
Ace Steel was also in the Second City Saints.
Yeah,
and actually, R.I.P. Daphne for a while too.
Yeah,
yeah. She
Lucy,
was Punk's manager. Lucy, that's right. Until she got taken out,
mysteriously attacked, and we still don't know who attacked. I don't know if that ever reaches a conclusion. I don't really care if it does, honestly. They push it so hard, nobody gives a shit. But
so that's cool. So that's who Lucy was, because I was trying to Google as I went through the show, like the people who I didn't recognize or like the names I didn't know. It's like, do I know these people under a different name? And I heard Lucy get brought up a couple times. So that is one I forgot to look up.
Yeah, because Danny Moff's in the Prophecy, I believe, at this point, or was
yeah. Or he's like a hired gun for the Prophecy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so normally I wouldn't bring up any of the dark matches, but Brundan, you were there, so I'm just gonna rattle them off, and you just hit me up with any memories you have of any of these illustrious names here. So we got Louis Ortiz versus Jose Perez.
I do not remember either one of these guys.
You're telling me Louis Ortiz and Jose Perez didn't make a lasting impression on you at the Rexplex?
No, unfortunately. Louis Ortiz looks like he did nothing. I got it up on Cage Match now. And Jose Perez, nothing either.
What about Grim Reefer? Any thoughts on the Reef?
Oh, I love Grim Reefer. I actually still watch him. He still wrestles to this day.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's a local New York guy. Yeah, not even close.
Tomato.
So he came out of that like Homicide Low-Key Hit Squad crew.
Right.
In like the late 90s, early 2000s. He was good. He just never really made it.
He's still he does GCW a lot now.
Yeah, he does GCW, JCW. He legit wrestles with a blunt in his mouth every match. Lights it up, does Hurricane Ranas with it.
On brand.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Is he still teaming with Slick Wagner Brown?
No, thankfully. I believe Slick Wagner Brown. You guys just had Slick Wagner Brown on a 2013 show, right? I think.
No.
I heard him brought up in the podcast. I'm pretty sure at one point, or maybe that was the Shining Wizards podcast. I don't.
I've heard one of it.
Yeah, it was one of the two, but
I'm surprised he got brought up anywhere else but here, where he's in the dark match.
He's famous for, unfortunately, I believe, beating his wife, April Hunter.
Oh, well, that makes him less enjoyable to watch. I was wondering why he's not around anymore. I guess
that's probably why. He actually, funny enough, he did a January 4th New Japan show once in the real dark ages when they would only draw like 14,000 fans to the dome. But he was on one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, no, this week's episode of Ring of Honor Revelry, we've got Bonesaw Brook. That's about as close we are going to get to him. So.
Again, just sounds made up.
If Bonesaw's not Macho Man, it doesn't matter.
I know. I was like,
Bonesaw.
That's not the Bonesaw I remember.
You got 3 minutes of pain.
Legend.
Yeah.
Speaking of legends, we got Diablo Santiago and Omen Tortuga, the Outcast Killers.
The Outcast Killers, members of the Embassy. Or at least later on, they were the one thing I remember about them. They would come out with Lysol spray in front of Prince Nana to sanitize the way.
I see. Well, they're just jobbers here taking on the ninth and 10th string of Special K. We got Cloudy and Lit.
Yeah. Cloudy was pretty good. He ended up doing a few things. Lit, I don't remember what happened to him. But Special K was like scum light, I think. Like everybody was in it. But it was entertaining.
Oh. No, it was. They were great.
Yes,
And we'll talk about them a little more later, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
They I didn't like them at first, but they've grown on me. They've grown on me for sure.
I could see that.
So you guys familiar with the Field of Honor tournament?
No.
I had to Google that between context clues, and I had to do a little Wikipedia diving to kind of figure out the kind of like the Field of Honor tournament and like the rankings they were talking about, and that was like the number one like trophy and stuff like that.
So the top 5 rankings in the Field of Honor are separate. So they got the top 5 rankings is just in general. The Field of Honor is a 8-man tournament that they did this. I don't know if they ever did this again.
Nope.
But it was an 8-man tournament, 2 blocks of 4 people, round robin, and the winners of each block would face each other in the finals. And we kind of get closer to that in this show. But they've been very vague with the stakes or the prize. In my mind, it's the pure title, because they're always talking about the pure wrestling element of this tournament. And so that would be my guess. But otherwise, they're just like, oh, whoever wins this is going to be a main eventer, and they're going to be good. It's like, okay, I guess.
I don't think they even knew what was going to happen for this one.
Yeah, but it's it's giving guys stakes. It's giving matches a reason to happen, which I'm all for. So, but we got a Block B match here to kick off the show. We got Dan Moff versus Colt Cabana. Colt is
Boom
Boom is 2-0. Moff is 1-1, and also BJ Whitmer is 2-1. So basically, if Moff wins this match, then that'll force a 3-way tiebreaker to determine the winner of this block. And shocker, Moff wins with a brutal burning hammer on Colt Cabana. Although, I mean, that was a fun opener. I don't have too much to say about it. And Moff is throwing out some pretty stiff suplexes, and Colt, the whole dancing spot is. They're both playing to their strengths in this match, but I thought it was fine for what it was. What'd you guys think about this one?
That dancing spot has lived in my head since.
I love the dancing bit, and this is my first Dan Moff match I've ever seen. So I love the comedic elements of Colt Cabana, though. The dancing bit, the he's gonna get that handshake one way or another. He's getting that
he's forcing it on
he
him.
Wants to do it or not. He's gonna get it.
It was hand molesting Dan Moff.
Yeah, that's right. The prophecy didn't shake hands, so
they hate
Moff
hands.
wasn't going to give it. Yeah,
they're anti-hands altogether. I think is the thing.
I don't know how they felt about gloves, but no hands for sure.
That's a good question. We need to ring them up.
Yeah, and people forget. I mean, at the end of the day, Colt Cabana can actually really wrestle.
Oh yeah, no, he's great, fantastic. But he definitely, in a time in Ring of Honor that the rosters is filled with great wrestlers, he did a great job at making himself stand out. I think with all the comedic stuff. It's like really starting to lean into it at this point. Like, I mean, there's Allison Danger who's with Dan Moff. They're all part of the prophecy. Danger tries to get involved, but Colt like grabs her and starts like samba. I don't know what kind of dance it is, but then his music plays. It's a whole thing. So it's very entertaining, but gets dropped on his head for his troubles. So
I love Danny Moff's facial expressions too. They were like second to none. Man, like when Colt grabs him to dance, the faces he made were just unbelievable. They just made the match just so much more entertaining. And it just makes it stand out more because, Ring of Honor, they have so many matches that are just like straight matches. So stuff like that makes them really stand out from the pack.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I think the real story here is the aftermath of this match. Boy, howdy. We got Samoa Joe and Jim Cornette, which is just a pair that I never thought was a thing.
A very svelte Samoa Joe.
Yeah. Blonde, handsome, coming out here. So for context, it was a few shows ago in Dayton, I believe. Jim Cornette made an appearance and the Prophecy made a fool of him. I forget what exactly they did, but they basically either like tripped him up or his team lost or something. They basically embarrassed Jim Cornette. So Jim is back. to try to get his revenge on the Prophecy because Dan Moff is in the ring and he's part of the Prophecy. So Samoa Joe, who I guess is like his hired gun, the hired gun of Cornette, comes out, beats up Moff. Daniels comes out, they scuffle. Joe ends up hitting Alice in Danger with an STO. And then Jim Cornette runs off Daniels with, or no, Cornette throws the racket at Joe. Joe catches it and he runs Daniels off with the racket. And just seeing Samoa Joe and Jim Cornette in the ring, Joe's holding the racket. Like it's just a crazy visual. And then Jim Cornette grabs the mic, basically recaps, what I just said. Nobody makes a fool out of me. I'm Jim Cornette. I don't know. That was more Jim Ross than anything. But
goddamn, triple cheese, motherfucker.
Then the Briscoes come out. Now, before this, a few months before this, the Briscoes and Samoa Joe have had issues. Joe and Jay had a match at the last show. Great match for the world title that Samoa Joe won. And they've had a few other interactions here. So the Briscoes come out to confront Joe. And Cornette's like, all right, Joe, you got it. So he backs away. And then as Joe's back's turned, racket to the back of Joe. Briscoes gang up on him. They sick Joe like a bunch of dogs. Cornette's still hitting him with the racket. So it seems that Cornette has aligned himself with the Briscoes, which I am all about. Again, another crazy visual of the Briscoes and Cornette. What'd you guys think of this whole aftermath here with Cornette and everybody involved?
Anytime the Briscoes are on my screen, I'm happy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And listen, with that goddamn racket, like I said, I'm sure it doesn't really hurt that bad.
I hope.
Goddamn the verbalization though. I mean, just that crack.
Yeah, that was a real open building too, so there was a lot of echo to crack in.
Right.
And it's just crazy that I mean, Jay and Joe are going to have they're destined to fight for another 12, 13 years after this. So,
right.
It was a good time. It was like Cornette with the Briscoes. I'm sure everyone, was shocked that, Mark still had his teeth in his mouth. So, very young looking Briscoes. So,
yes,
that jumped out at me later on when at a particular point at the end of the Briscoes match later in the card, I texted Tom like, "Holy shit, Mark's got his teeth."
Yep.
Yeah, singlets and teeth.
Yeah, I thought it was neat because obviously, again, I'm a huge Briscoes mark too. Like they have a lot of emotional weight for me, and kind of like my relationship with my brother and like our relationship with wrestling and stuff like that. But I think how prophetic a segment Jim Cornette's talking about, heralding in like the stars of the future. And like the future of this company, and he aligns himself with the Briscoes, who would never leave Ring of Honor, and whereas he ditches Samoa Joe, who'd go to Impact. I don't know however many years later, but
his whole thing here was he doesn't want to, because Joe is the world champion at this point, and Cornette's like, I don't want to align with an existing champion. I want to make champions, and at this point, the Briscoes are not the tag team champions. Foreshadowing.
They had such a great feud, the Joe and the Briscoes too, because they would have future tag matches with Joe and set partner versus the Briscoes, and just anytime any one of the three or add-in partner were in the ring, it was just magic.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But more on the Briscoes later as they are fighting for the tag team titles against Special K. But before that, we got another tag team match in its own right. We got the Purists, the team of John Walters and Tony Mamaluke, versus the team of Xavier and Nigel McGuinness. Hoo-wee. So this is only Nigel's second Ring of Honor match ever.
Okay, I was going to wonder on this. Yeah, because they're talking like Nigel was really new.
Yeah, he came in. I would think his original match was in Dayton. He was. I think so, yeah. That was his first match, and it wasn't even like. It was like an HWA showcase.
It was.
Yeah.
Nigel McGuinness is really tall.
Yes.
You don't think so, but
Tony Mamaluke was pretty short too, so that helps.
Right. So the story here is really between Xavier and John Walters, who are on opposing teams here. So Xavier has, who is kind of a member of the Prophecy at this point. He's kind of got one foot out, one foot in. But Xavier has beaten Walters I think twice at this point. He beat him in a singles match, and he also beat him in a 4-way match. But he's used like low blows and interference to get his wins. And Walters is like the purest of the pure. He's in a tag team called the Purists. I think it's pretty obvious, but so Walters is pissed that Xavier needs to cheat to win, and Xavier's like, "Hey, I'll beat you however you want." So now they have a tag team match where they each get to pick their partner. Obviously, Walters picks his partner Tony Mamaluke, and Xavier picks who I guess is supposed to be the purest of the pure wrestlers, Nigel McGuinness. Which, watching this match, you could definitely get that sense because obviously we know what Nigel would go on to do. But it's so clear here, even though it's very early on, that Nigel has something special. That was my main takeaway in this match. It was a pretty solid match, but just seeing Nigel just like, in my opinion, completely outshine everybody was a sight to see. What'd you guys think of this one?
Oh, yeah. I 100% agree. Nigel was definitely the standout. Like the chain wrestling stuff he was doing was top notch. Right. And the only thing I'll say is Tony Mamaluke. What a great name! It's such a great name to say.
It sounds like a slur. Like Mama Luke, you know?
It's better than Tony Marinara.
Yeah.
What's that Mama Luke boy doing nowadays?
Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's his last name.
So Tony Mama Luke's kind of a pure wrestler too. Obviously, being with John Walters, I guess. That kind of surprised. Maybe I'm just assuming because with the name, he seemed kind of like more gimmicky.
Right.
But
I think that's the idea because early Ring of Honor, little Guido was there. So they like kind of half did the FBI thing, but they're also like, yeah, no more gimmicks. We're just gonna be pure wrestlers. But then they kind of reverted to the gimmick. But now he's Nunzio. Now Guido's out of here, and Mama Luke's is by himself. So now he's back to being it's a whole thing. But yeah, he is kind of a pure wrestler. At least it's the presentation attempt, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really like the heel work from Xavier in this match too.
Yeah,
he was an underrated heel. I think his title run gets a lot of shit for not being a great title run, but he had a lot of like really great matches and mixed in it, and the fans hated him, so he really did his job well.
R.I.P.
Yeah, man,
that's right. Yeah,
no, Xavier's another guy that's grown on me over time too.
It's just weird. I just can't imagine he was the one to dethrone Loki though. I know we're going back here into history, but
all right. Well, it was kind of by nefarious means a little bit. He used a cinder block and a chair and the prophecy, but yeah, still.
That'll do it, yeah. Was he more of a transitional champion then?
He had I think it was 6-7 months he was champ.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Loki was only champ for maybe like 2-3 months. And then...
he only defended it like once or twice, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And then... went on to Xavier until Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Xavier, to your point, definitely is also a great because it's 4 guys in here and it's supposed to be like a pure wrestling match, but Xavier gets tagged in and he's just clubbing forearms and chops and he's like throwing guys against the barricade. I think it's Tony Mamaluke. He like picks up on his shoulders and like spears into the barricade, which looked just so violent. But
did you guys know who his second was?
Who, Lollipop?
Yeah.
What you guys' thoughts on Lollipop?
I specifically remember her from TNA as the girl or the one that danced in the cage, and when TNA started, they had cage dancers, and she was the one that stuck out apparently, and then got in a fight with somebody and had her top ripped off on live TV.
See, this is the in-depth analysis while we have.
Yeah,
that's right.
I was really hoping we would get into the lore of Lollipop, so I'm glad I could have you guys on. Really what the people
don't
want.
ask me what I did yesterday, but ask me about Lollipop from 20 years ago. And somehow I remember.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I guess the only like significance is that because Xavier is a part of the prophecy, Alice in Danger is generally the second for prophecy members, but Xavier chose Lollipop instead of her. So it's kind of just furthering the tension between Xavier and the prophecy.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just kind of a whore that's out there. But the match, pretty good actually. No, yeah. What'd you guys think of Nigel's that weird hammerlock pedigree deal he did, if you call it that? It was like he like got the guy in like a pedigree position, but only hooked one of his arms and like slapped him down like a DDT.
Yeah. Well, in my notes here, I got in the end, Nigel hits a sweet hammerlock DDT. But the Mama Luke spears him, and Xavier comes in for the sneak pin.
Xavier picks the bones.
That was a sweet fight. I mean, that's just Nigel being Nigel. I mean, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, because I'm only familiar with Nigel like in his heel run towards the later half of his run. So here, seeing him like very energetic and like doing all these fancy moves and the fancy chain wrestling and all the weird moves I've never seen him do before. It's very interesting, but still the charisma comes off even very early on. You can see why he would be like a huge star in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. He had that look too, like that just made him look different and stand out.
He was a big guy too, like you guys said.
Yeah. That James Bond look. So him and Claudio definitely kind of got that whole James Bond thing going on. So
yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Listen, the ending was fun. And it's John Walters. I mean, his whole run's really underrated. So I mean, John Walters could go. I mean, all four of these guys. I mean, I didn't know Tony Mamaluke was the one guy I didn't really know much about, but I was like, oh, okay, this guy's not bad.
Oh yeah, I thought all these guys looked good. Yeah, Walters too looked really good in this match, and he's another guy who's like, at first I was like, the fuck is this guy? But he's like really good. He had a great match with Christopher Daniels at the last show. I mean, if he's gonna be in that pure division, I'm all for it because he fits it.
Yeah, he was very solid.
Yeah, he looks kind of vanilla, but then you watch kind of like Tracy Hot Sauce Tracy Williams now. You like look at him, but then you see him in the ring. Like, oh shit. Which makes sense, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on this match? Xavier gets his third win over Walters and another shitty heel way. So, but any other thoughts on that?
It set up something great for the future. So,
yeah.
If you're gonna keep watching, you'll see something pretty amazing pretty soon between the two of them. Feud doesn't end here, that's for sure.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Beautiful. Well, also in the future, we got Matt Striker with a Y, not the teacher.
Yeah,
not that Matt.
Yeah,
Striker.
not that Matt Striker.
Everybody always gets confused when I have him on to watch Ring of Honor. It's like, I didn't know Matt Striker was in Ring of Honor. No, it's not that guy.
I did like to lean in. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the same.
He looks like
guy.
Just close enough to be like, maybe not.
Yeah, we'll save me the embarrassment by telling him it wasn't the same one, so I can take out my notes here of asking about that. So I'm like, he doesn't look like the Matt Striker I know, so I know he wrestled, but
I was writing down the matches and it said Matt Striker, not that Matt Striker. Versus.
But he's facing off against Justin Credible, which doesn't feel like
anybody have that on your 2003 Ring of Honor card.
He's actually been pretty prevalent because he's a part of the Carnage crew, which we'll see more of later. So these two, if you're gonna slander the Carnage crew,
Carnage crew was amazing. I don't hold any slander.
They're fantastic. We're gonna touch on that later. I'm gonna have a problem with Tom up here, but
oh wait, so I mean, if we want to start, I'll start this problem right now. What's your opinion on olives?
Olives can eat my dick hole.
There we go.
Yeah,
that's right.
The whole hole. Yeah. Whenever I see it on a pizza, I slap whoever bought the pizza. And but yeah,
I think we need to get Kyle and Graham together. So the anti-olive crew.
We'll start it. Yeah, we'll start a group. Anti-olives.
The other AOC.
Right. Yeah. But no olives here. I don't think. Just incredible.
Hell yeah.
So these guys had a match a few months ago at this point. That was actually pretty solid. It was more in the realm of just incredible. Like it was like a brawl around the arena. Both guys were busted open. It's actually pretty solid. And it seems like in this rematch here, they were going to take it more towards Matt Striker's wheelhouse, which is more pure wrestling. Like this match, I don't even know if it left the ring at all. If it did, it was very brief. It was very much just a meat and potatoes wrestling match. And I feel like it just didn't. To me, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, Matt Striker gets the win eventually, which is great. But overall, I was pretty whelmed by this show. What you guys think about it? Or this match? What you guys think about it?
I forgot this match even happened. So that shows that shows the lasting memory. Yeah. I can remember Lollipop for 20 years ago, but I can't remember this.
Oh, you'll never forget Lollipop.
No, never.
Basically just really two good hands, really kind of going at it. It's really kind of your typical Ring of Honor match.
Yeah.
I did he always come out to prom like when he was in ECW?
Yeah, that was his ECW theme as well.
But Kyle, I do have to give you kudos for the link you sent and for following, because obviously, I think on our club, like the music's all cut out, so like I don't know if you guys have watched any of the old stuff. Like it said before, Tony Khan fucked it all up and took everything off. Oh wait, did I say that? I did. Yeah, it'd be funny because like the match would start, but there'd be nothing because they couldn't license the music.
Right.
So yeah, so
that's the whole.
I really do enjoy that you sent us something with the music on there. But
you're welcome. Crucial.
Yeah, no, I just two good hands. It was a super solid match. It was, with everything coming up, it kind of definitely got. I mean, like Brundan said, I could definitely see forgetting this match.
But yeah,
it bothered me a little bit that he won with a submission on a body part he really didn't work over in the match.
I didn't even notice that. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Because he wins with like an Indian deathlock type move on the leg, which he calls the striker lock. Of course, very original.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, towards the end of this match, I mean, you got like a couple good false finishes. Like Justin hits a super kick for a 2 count. Striker hits his Death Valley driver for a 2 count. We even get a That's Incredible, which I thought would be the finish, but it was just a 2 count. So putting over how tough Matt Striker is, I guess, at this point, which is fine. But yeah, ultimately it was forgettable, I guess. Like you guys said, is probably the main takeaway. Not offensively bad, but just
it was fine.
It's whatever. Yeah.
It can live.
Striker was one of those guys I feel like they had really high hopes for and just never fully panned out completely.
Right.
Yeah,
I like Matt Striker. I've always described him as a less charismatic version of Bryan Danielson.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like they had Bryan Danielson there. So it's like it was clear like the hierarchy between those two. So I think it's probably why he never really got above a certain level. But again, a solid pure wrestling, pure division guy. And I know from what I understand, he has a decent amount of success for the next few years. But good stuff there. But speaking of guys that had just a little bit of success over the next few years, we have the Briscoes in this next match challenging for the Ring of Honor tag team titles against the champions Special K, the team of Dixie and Izzy. Quick, without looking at your notes, how many Special K guys can you name?
I think I could name them all.
Do it.
Izzy, Dixie, Angel Dust, Hydro, Elax, Mikey Whipwreck at one point. Cloudy, Cheech, Lit, Bryan XL, Slim J.
Wow.
And there was probably a bunch of other schmucks around there.
References.
Slugger, perhaps?
Slugger, yes.
Yeah. That's very impressive. Man, that head is just full of useless information, isn't it?
It really is.
You think some guys out there that I forgot about. Bryan XL, man, what a guy. Faced Eddie Guerrero
Bryan XL
once.
was the original leader, I believe.
He was.
So, yeah,
leader. But before we even get to the match, commentary is like, oh, you know what Special K was doing on those tag team titles before the show? I don't even want to mention it. It was just disgusting. First of all, commentary. What are your guys' thoughts on the commentary from this show? If you have any.
Was this Gabe at this point?
Yes.
I think? Or one of Gabe's fake names?
Chris Lovey, as he went by, with
Yes.
Ray Morrow. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was. It used to be awful, like in 02. I don't know if it's getting better or if I'm just getting used to it, but it used to be terrible.
It was helpful for me who doesn't have the knowledge of like a lot of what's going on. So like some of the story stuff they could fill in or to kind of help contextualize. I noticed because when I was watching the main event, I noticed there was nothing. So I don't know if that was like a conscious choice or if that was just an audio issue why there wasn't commentary over the main event.
Actually, they said on air they were going to go into the crowd and watch the match. So yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah, so I thought that was really. I got that in my notes. I thought that was actually really cool. They're like, yeah, we're just going to let this match breathe. I was like, oh, you don't hear that. I don't know is that a gimmick they do a lot, Kyle, or?
So this is the first time they did it. I know one of the CM Punk Samoa Joe matches they did that. I think
they did that for Samoa Joe Kenta Kobashi also.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it's a unique little twist on it, and I'm all for not hearing Gabe yell in my ear for 30 minutes straight.
God.
So
try falling asleep listening to one of those ROH shoot interviews, and you're woken up by Gabe screaming at they show the highlights after those, and it's a Gabe scream. Ugh.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this match here, Briscoes, Special K. My main takeaway here, so Jim Cornette's obviously with them as they aligned in the beginning of the show. The Briscoes, because before this, I mean, the Briscoes have been the highlight of Ring of Honor up to this point, like by far, in my opinion. Yes. A lot of their matches are very high spot heavy. They're very fast paced, very high flying. And we did get a little bit of that in this match, but there seemed to be like an intensity in the Briscoes that was very striking. I don't know if that's ties in with the Jim Cornette thing or if it just happened to be who they were facing or what it was. But Briscoes came off like monsters, I thought, in this match. It wasn't a particularly long match, I don't think. Almost kind of a anticlimactic way to win the tag team titles, which they ultimately do.
It wasn't even 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Special K just won the tag team titles not too long ago. So the tag titles, they've been kind of hot potatoed here in the beginning of its lineage here, but Briscoes are here to stay. I mean, I don't know how long this reign in particular lasts, but I thought this was a pretty fun match, though.
They had a good run. I think that, I think earlier in the summer, they kind of stepped away for a little while.
They did,
like
yes.
They tried to pursue other things. They were going to play football in college since, they're 18, 19 years old at that point. And then they just came back and they found their love for wrestling again. And they, it really showed in this match too.
Yeah.
I think it's really what it needed to be too, with, Special K just squashing them, showing that they're the superior team. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, styles make fights, and these two are so polar opposites. It worked really, really well. And, like you said earlier, Carl, you look at these guys, and these guys are a fucking joke, but these Special K kids can fucking go. I was like, God damn. I haven't seen a lot of them, so I was like, oh, shit, Jesus.
Same. Like, I was aware of the name, but I hadn't seen anything from them. I mean, I just want to jump back to, like, the kind of backstage bit where they showed them, like, on the bus. Like, they were, like, there's people who were like, we got a party, and like, guys, we're fighting the Briscoes. Like, this isn't good. Like, and I swear to God, he wasn't listed as a member, but Jay Lethal was on that bus. I'm not crazy, right?
Hydro as he goes by.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's who Hydro is.
Yes.
Pretty much, you guys know Jersey Pro Wrestling, or Jersey All Pro Wrestling.
Heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, like, all their trainees or little guys became like Special K. So, like, all of these guys came up through Jersey All Pro and basically were thrown together, and kind of like a spirit squad in a way. So,
yeah.
See, I didn't know that, so I was looking at the list. I'm like, Jay Lethal's not listed here, but I swear to God, Jay Lethal's on that bus.
You were correct, sir. Yeah, going by Hydro, and it's so clear how much, like, I don't know if it came off in this show particularly, but Jay Lethal's so much better than everybody else at this point. Like, you can tell how good he is. Although, again, like, the other Special K guys, even though they're kind of interchangeable for the most part, like, they're all fun to watch. They know their gimmick. Like, they always have the numbers, so they always, like, one guy will distract the ref, and then meanwhile, a guy from the outside springboards in and attacks. Like, they're all, like, all over the place, but they do the gimmick really well, so I like that.
And it works for this Ring of Honor because, like, commentary kind of filled it out that there's, like, no disqualification, there's no countouts, it's all referee discretion.
Right.
So the playing up there's a bunch of Special K members out here, but Jim Cornette's out here. Jim Cornette can probably handle 3 or 4 members of Special K.
Yeah, I mean, that racket, that wingspan and that racket, that's all you need.
Those are the kind of guys that Cornette would really, really love too.
Yeah.
It's great to see, for me, again, filling in these, like, kind of blank spots. So seeing Briscoes wrestle more this style as opposed to the more kind of, like, grounded, brawly style that at least Jay maintained later on. But my big thing was the Doomsday device being done off the rope instead of just off the corner.
Springboard.
That's
yeah.
why the
I'm like,
Briscoes are better
that's-
than the Road Warriors. Yes, you
Like
heard it.
that's
Okay.
We might
fact-
get canceled here for saying that. Sorry, Will. But yeah.
well, it's like on Twitter the other day we saw there. It was I don't remember. I want to say it was maybe a Noah show where he did it. Like he did a running the Doomsday device, but he ran, springboarded off the third rope from inside the ring, and then like spun around and like caught the guy with the clothesline.
Yes.
So to be able to see Mark, you know, you're not restrained to like, oh, I gotta climb the corner. It's like no.
Yeah.
If Jay's got the guy up, Mark can just like has to just be like at ringside, and he can like just be from like anywhere.
Mark's just a national treasure. I know we say it every week, Will, but Mark is just a national treasure. But yeah, I actually have in my notes here. Yeah, Mark hits a top rope Doomsday device, and that's exactly why they're better than the Road Warriors.
Yep.
It's just math at that point, right?
Yeah. So Kyle, if you get a bunch of flack on that from the internet, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll point them
really.
towards you guys. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not that way. So
But yeah, ultimately, so the springboard Doomsday. Well, at first they go for it on I think Izzy, but he ducks, and then Poison Rana's whoever shoulders he was on. But they ultimately do hit the springboard Doomsday device, and then they hit the Vegematic, which is ode to the Midnight Express, who's Jim Cornette's their manager. I know this move as the death sentence that AMW does in TNA, but that's just me. But they hit that move, and then Jay hits the J Driller on whoever, I think it was Dixie. Doesn't really matter, I guess. For the win. So the Briscoes win their first ever Ring of Honor tag team titles here with Jim Cornette in between them. Again, just a crazy visual. Them holding the titles with Jim Cornette in the middle is just, yeah, I loved all of this for sure.
yeah, and listen, the announcers say, yeah, this is just the beginning for the Briscoes, and obviously 13 title reigns later, he's fucking right. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when this match started, because obviously, after Jay passed away and, and obviously Jay was missing everything, you kind of going through all the Briscoes history. I'm like, wait, this match looks off. I'm like, wait, is this the match?
Right.
I didn't want to message you yet either, too, because in case you hadn't seen it, I watched it a couple days ago. I didn't want to spoil it. I'm like, motherfucker, we just saw history. I was like, I just jumped out of my seat. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, this is 20 years ago. So,
Crazy. I mean, there's nobody that's more Ring of Honor than the Briscoes. Like in hindsight,
No, that's for sure.
Insane. But
listen, there's really no other wrestlers that are synonymous with the promotion like the Briscoes are Ring of Honor in general. So maybe I'm just biased, but I really can't think of any.
No, unless you
At
want to
least
go
that didn't own it.
yeah.
Hulkamania. Yeah, Hulkamania was only half the time of that the Briscoes were in Ring of Honor, so it seemed like fucking forever.
Wow,
as a kid,
it's a crazy stat. Speaking of Ring of Honor, we got two guys that also represent Ring of Honor here. We got Homicide and BJ Whitmer facing off in a Fighting Spirit match. You might be asking, the fuck's a Fighting Spirit match? Well, you can win by pinfall, submission, knockout, or a 20 count out. So it's basically a normal match, but now we have countouts is basically the thing. But they put over the Fighting Spirit element throughout the match. This match took me by surprise. On paper, this read as just kind of like a filler match, like a whatever match. But man, this is probably match of the night for me.
Homicide. So, hell yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
He was hitting on all cylinders then too.
Yeah. I can't do another guy. Especially the way he wrestles, his lifestyle. That motherfucker hasn't aged a bit either. Like, you see him wrestle today, he can still fucking go. He looks the goddamn same.
For sure.
Real quick, so for that anniversary Riot show, Kyle, that you watched, I haven't listened to that episode yet, but did they show the full Riot on the clip that you watched, or did they kind of cut that out?
Not only did they show it, they showed it twice with different angles.
Really?
Like 20 minutes worth of just watching a Riot, which is interesting.
I swear, I think I had that on VHS 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember that being a big thing back then. That was nothing.
So was this a Riot because of a wrestling show?
Well, it was a kayfabe Riot, from my understanding.
Gotcha.
Julius Smokes was involved, who was managing Homicide, but that was like the big thing. Like I'm sure at the time everybody probably thought, and they were trying to put it over as like a shoot thing. And it felt like one too. I mean, watch it. It was well done, but ultimately, the guys that like instigated the riot ended up becoming characters like Julius Smokes and I think some other guys.
Grim Reaper might have even been in that.
Oh,
wouldn't surprise me.
Who can forget Grim Reaper?
It's probably Grim Reaper's not in Special K. I mean, it kind of fits the gimmick.
You could probably slide in there and nobody would notice.
Maybe he didn't hit the hard stuff like Special K.
But yeah, this match.
No, I love this. I'm a big Homicide guy, so I love this match. BJ Whitmer with a ponytail. It's gross.
That's all I know him as. So
yeah, exactly.
I know he's bald now, right? I've seen him at a few AEW, like as a judge for the Pure title.
Don't see him anymore.
Yeah, my introduction to BJ Whitmer was he was Cheeseburger's tag team partner.
Oh,
so that's like way later on when he's like feuding with the Decade and stuff like that.
Right. He's there for a while too.
So I'm like, oh, he's got his hair. I'm like, oh, he's got a ponytail. It's like wet looking, gross.
That's 2003, man. Long, wet hair. The more wet you are, the better, I think.
Yep.
Steve Carino. That's all. With the world's longest promo.
Oh, we are gonna lollygag through that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but all bullshit aside, I'm with you guys. I love this match. These two have great chemistry. And say what you will about BJ Whitmer, the guy can take a fucking ass whipping. I mean, a couple times I'm like, how is he like? I mean, obviously we know, he has neck issues. Obviously later, and you can see fucking why.
Yeah. My first memory of him is what did he do? CM Punk German suplexed him outside through a table, and
right.
Yeah,
they had to call the match off.
Yeah, and then go from there.
Again, I think it might have been a kayfabe thing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, you got to keep in mind too, in our era of Ring of Honor that we're watching, BJ Whitmer puts himself through tables head first. So,
yeah.
Well, I guess
he's an incredible in-ring talent. So, I mean, it's like they're both experts at their craft.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
we got the cop killer, all about it.
Mm-hmm. Homicide's great, man. 2003 was the year of Homicide. I mean, this dude doesn't miss in this year. He's by far with the matches with Steve Carino and among others, Christopher Daniels. He just has great matches after great match.
Even like the show before this in the Rexplex at Death Before Dishonor, that I think a 4-way with these two, Moff and Cabana, that was, if not the best match on the show, certainly number 2
that's match of the year candidate type stuff.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. But BJ Whitmer, at this point, BJ Whitmer is kind of like he's a good wrestler for sure. Like he's had some good matches, but he's like missing something at this point. I don't know if it's character or what, but I feel like this match really put over BJ Whitmer. I mean, he lost this match ultimately, but the crowd was chanting BJ after it, which I assume they were chanting for him, but maybe just like blowjobs. I don't know. People.
Well, you can't see me in the crowd, so you don't know why they're chanting.
But yeah, because I mean, you guys said it. BJ took an ass kicking in this match. I guess that's the fighting spirit that they were trying to put over. I mean, fucking Homicide hits the cop killer.
He got back into the ring at like the 18 count or whatever. Like it was just shy of the 20 count. You have all the refs out there checking on him.
Right. That was after the cop killer, which I guess, I don't know if it's true or not. Commentary said that nobody had ever kicked out of the cop killer, which I believe. I mean, it's a very protective finisher.
Too, yeah.
I'd still be laying there. Even if that happened to me in 2003, so.
Yeah. Cop killer gets a 2 counts amazingly. And BJ, like you said, rolls out of the ring. The refs are checking on him, makes it into the ring at the 19 count. And before that, even, I mean, he had gotten hit with a headbutt from Homicide that busted both guys open. Looked like a legit headbutt. Looked brutal. BJ's just has blood running down all his face.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
I hate headbutts.
Topes.
Another thing that I really dug about the show is, I don't know if it's necessarily that the counts were fast, but it felt like the refs like counted with more of a purpose. It's not like what a lot of wrestling you see now is, where it's very obviously like it's going to be a 1. It's going to be, there's so many that it's like, I swear to God, that ref hit that that mat for that third count, but they're saying nope, he was good. So it's like, hey,
Right.
you're the ref, right?
Love a good ref cadence. Anybody that's not Nick Patrick in WCW is okay with me.
I hate. Yeah, I'm with you. I hated him from the '90s on. Oh, the hand. I hate it. I never understood that. It made no sense.
You can never hear it. Like sometimes he doesn't even hit the mat. Oh, he stinks.
He might have been the only guy in the NWO I didn't like in the '90s.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, speaking of wrestling, yeah, I mean, and people that haven't aged, Paul Turner, in a couple of these matches.
Yeah, look at that.
I mean, motherfucker looks, just the same. So
I was looking for Todd Sinclair. I'm like, where's that son?
I know it's weird. It's weird watching Ring of Honor without Todd Sinclair. So
he's probably at a buffet somewhere.
How dare you? Respect the Sinclair.
I'm not saying anything people in the crowd didn't do.
Still is to this day.
He got real thin at one point too, and then he just, like me, gained it all back.
That happens to us all. Yep. I feel you.
With a little extra.
But yeah, really stiff match here. Pretty brutal suplexes from both guys. BJ hits Homicide with a German into the corner. Dragon suplexes, power, like it was all like one combo, like a dragon suplex into a power bomb. Homicide's throwing out his topes to the outside into the barricades. Ultimately, though, the BJ hits his wrist clutch exploder for a 2 count. But then Homicide's able to fight back and hits an ace crusher off the second rope, rips his elbow pad off, and hits a brutal looking lariat for the win. So Homicide gets the win. It took a lot to pin him, though. I mean, BJ just kept kicking out of everything he was throwing at him, but ultimately his body gave out on him, and Homicide wins. So again, great match.
I remember this being very like all Japanish type match.
It was a very strong style match for sure.
And that's saying a lot with the 2 matches we got coming up. I still think this might be match of the night.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed this. I was like, I when I was done, I had to take a break. I was like, wow, that was awesome. I'm like, now they're gonna beat that. So with what we got coming up too, I was like, so yeah, I loved it. So these two have got. I mean, you look at these two. I mean, they're polar opposites. If you look at them, but I mean, yeah, they had great chemistry. So I loved it. I know I said it 14 times,
but people listening, you might be thinking, well, how do you follow that? Well, how about you throw at least 8 of the most indie-rific guys going inside a steel cage and just let them loose. And that's what we got here. We got a scramble tag team cage match. We got
I was going to say real quick before that, though, Homicide did get jumped after the match by Carino.
That's very true. As Homicide was leaving, going through the aisle, Carino attacks him. Yes.
The ear thing that he's still bitching about in 2013.
Well, coming from somebody that has a lack of hearing, I get where he's coming from. So.
Did you also get slapped by Homicide really hard?
I did not, but I'm 40% deaf, so I feel for Carino that deafness sucks. So if it was Homicide, I might have
wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. If I was Steve Carino's size, I would do it.
Yeah,
myself, no.
That's true.
Yeah, but Carino, that looked fucking brutal.
He had a chain, right?
Yeah. And it looked like he was like pounding his head into like the leg of the barricade. He was like kicking his head into the. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. An ear for an ear, bitch. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very blonde Steve Carino, which we will obviously address for about 45 minutes later. So,
boy, howdy, I got a lot to talk about Steve Carino. But before that,
sorry to interject there, Kyle.
No, that's very important.
Scramble. I liked that because you couldn't win by escaping the cage. That they just put like the props up in the corner, so it's like we just wanted to do crazy shit off this cage.
The only purpose this cage served was, like you said, they had platforms on each corner of the cage so that people can jump off of them. It's like, okay, sweet.
And then the people that you book in there, you could see why too. Teddy Hart, Jack Evans, SAT man. For sure.
Teddy Hart, woof.
Why was
or meow?
I mean, obviously the main event's the main event, but how much time did they use to set up the fence and then have to tear it back down?
Yeah, I mean,
obviously that wasn't on the card, but you remember that, Brundan?
I don't think it took a ton of time. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure they did an intermission while they probably while
Yeah.
they set it up. But
I think this is
I
the
don't
first match after intermission, right?
Yeah. So I don't think it took a ton. It definitely breaking it down took a lot less time.
Right.
But yeah, I don't remember.
Well, I like how
waiting
too, like,
forever.
it doesn't have the door for like people to get in and out, so they have to like swing the whole like wall of the cage open to like let people in.
I love indie cages. It's
And
my
then people
favorite.
are just opening it up anyway.
Yeah.
It's like this fight's spilling to the outside. Who cares?
Inside, outside, on top, underneath. I mean, this is just chaos. This is what a scramble match is. It's the epitome of a scramble. It's just people flying everywhere.
I definitely feel like that the Special K group got to, like, the members in this match got to shine a lot more than their compatriots earlier on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we got Special K taking on SAT versus the new Hart Foundation, which is Jack Evans and Teddy Hart, versus the Carnage Crew versus the Backseat Boys. So all of these guys have kind of been fighting each other in various scramble, four-way bullshit kind of type of matches. But now we're just gonna throw them all in a cage, let them loose, see what happens. And they have like a War Games type of stipulation here where two teams start.
Yep.
And then a team
can't win until everybody's in.
Yeah. And then every 3 minutes a team comes in and they, like you said, can't win until everybody's in there. And right away I noticed the platforms on top of the cage and I'm like, okay, somebody's gonna do some crazy shit. And that's, I mean, guys, just hit me with your favorite spots from this match, because it was impossible to take notes on this. So just hit me with what caught your eye in this one.
Jack Evans double moonsault. I'm going hard right away.
Ooh.
You never saw anything like that at this point. I'm pretty sure he was the first guy to do it. So I mean,
if there's ever a time to do it, it's on top of a cage with a platform on it.
Oh yeah,
It's tailor made. I mean, yeah. How many times do you think Jack Evans was dead?
This was the start of it.
Teddy did a similar thing, right? He did like a corkscrew moonsault of sorts off the top to the outside too.
Yeah. I don't think he realized there was nobody standing where he was about to jump too.
It's almost like Teddy Hart's a crazy piece of shit.
I know, it just sucks that he's a fucking nut job.
I know. I've seen so many great Teddy Hart matches live, and just knowing what a piece of shit it is, or he is, just
look. I love cats too, but he takes one level too far, I think.
Yeah, I'm not bringing my cats to the ring.
I was clutching my pearls towards that spot towards the end where it's like, are they gonna like pile drive this guy like off the corner? I'm like, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, they're gonna kill somebody.
Carnage Crew, man.
Also, commentary putting over that Teddy Hart just had a banger match with TJ Wilson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Tyson Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
I did mention this. Yeah, I had my notes here. The Special K did that double Spanish fly off platform. That was really awesome.
That was like my first thought when I saw the platforms. Was like, okay, who drew the short straw and is taking a Spanish fly off the top of that thing? Because that was nutty.
I was so grateful that people are there to like break that fall. Because I'm like, they are not going to just straight up drop somebody like
terrified. You talk about pearl clutching. I was like, oh my god, this could go wrong so many different ways. But SAT were great at it. I mean, they were the innovators of it. And then, they did it on Jay Lethal, by the way, Hydro, who was, very competent in his own right. So if there's any 3 people that could do it, it was them. And still nutty, though. I mean, it was probably one of the craziest things I've seen. Almost crazier than the double moonsault to the outside. It was just nuts.
Yeah. They're still going today, too.
SAT, they're still killing it.
Yeah.
And obviously, Jay Lethal is, too, obviously. So,
yeah.
Crazy how time works sometimes.
Yeah. Right, Will? Jay Lethal. Still killing it today.
Oh, yeah. Right? remember the one time he did that? Oh, by the way, Teddy Hart at one point gives his own partner a Hurricane Karana off the top of the cage to just throw him onto a pile of bodies. This is just insanity here. People getting thrown into the cage. Spot. Oh, yeah. Jack Evans just flipping. I think this is Jack Evans' debut, I believe.
It is, yeah.
And he showed out for sure. Even just the stuff not off the cage. I mean, he was doing these corkscrew moonsaults from a standing position, which is like so foreign to people at that point. So he was nuts.
That got me more excited because they said like Special K is more of like a high flyer thing. It's like, all right, so they're going to be able to use the cage.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, oh, Jack Evans. I'm like, oh, it's about to pop off.
This is what he was born for.
Yeah, we got the Backseat Boys too. We haven't mentioned those guys. So was Trent. Who's
Trent Acid, Johnny Cashmere.
Yeah,
they were pretty big around this time. They were a hell of a tag team. There were two guys like you look at them, you're like, all right, these guys are a well-oiled machine as a tag team.
They had really good
moves.
Yeah, really good chemistry with each other.
Very good chemistry, yeah. And Trent too. Trent, if he didn't he got in trouble later in life with drugs and everything. Like he'd still be going today if he didn't, unfortunately, because he was really good in the ring.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
That was like 2010. He passed, right?
Yeah,
really unfortunate.
Wow.
He had star potential for sure.
He definitely did. Yeah.
But ultimately, though, the Backseat Boys end up winning after the Carnage Crew hit their second rope spike pile driver onto Angel Dust. Trent Acid breaks up the pin, and then they're able to hit the T gimmick onto Hydro for the win. So the Backseat Boys get the win. I guess I would assume that would make them the number one contenders for the tag titles. Or maybe they're in the top five, top five rankings. Who knows? But Backseats get the win. Big ROH chants afterwards. This is the epitome of what a scramble match should be. I feel like just insanity. Let these guys loose, and it was very entertaining for sure.
Do they show the aftermath of the scramble cage, or did they cut that off? Because there was stuff that there was a lot of stuff that happened afterwards for the live crowd.
Do tell.
So this is where the first real big thing that Teddy Hart really ever did. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be celebration for the Backseat Boys and everything, and then everybody goes to the back, and then Teddy Hart started climbing up the cage.
They showed this in the documentary, didn't they?
Yeah,
in the Teddy Hart documentary.
Started doing moonsaults off the cage, climbed back up, threw up off the cage again, and the Carnage Crew came out again and legit just threw him into the barricade. And I think he gets up and actually jumps off and does another moonsault off the cage, and then he apparently got thrown out of the locker room afterwards.
So this dude was just doing moonsaults off the cage to the ground,
into the ring or something like that. He was taking away from. It was right after the Backseat won, so apparently it was described as pretty unprofessional.
I do remember.
I think he almost tried to jump onto somebody else that didn't know he was coming too.
So. Yeah, because I knew there was a Teddy Hart situation in this match. I thought it might have been he hurt himself on the moonsault to the outside, but I guess it was the aftermath. Which
it was all the aftermath.
Life is just a Teddy Hart situation.
Unfortunately, that guy's still around. Jesus Christ. Well. Good luck, Teddy Hart.
No, this was cool. This was a lot of fun. I'm a big tag team wrestling guy, so just the fact that like Brundan saying, we're saying these tag teams are great, these tag teams are great, these tag teams are great. It's I feel more inclined to want to watch more stuff like this, to see more of the Backseat Boys, the Carnage Crew, see more of these tag teams and factions that I didn't get to see. Kind of post. Because I was watching wrestling at this point, but just what was on TV. I didn't grow up in a wrestling hotbed, so to speak.
Right? Yeah, those guys are always reliable for an entertaining. It might be a spot fest, but it'll be entertaining.
Carnage Crew too.
Anytime Jay Lethal takes the pin, I'm a happy fella.
That's the one thumbs down on this match. Yeah.
Carnage Crew were pretty different too than everybody else. They were, the brawlers and everything. They weren't real high flyers or pure wrestlers. So they really, for me anyway, they really stood out from the pack.
Mm-hmm.
No, they were at the strip club.
So Tom, why don't you like Carnage Crew?
I don't know. They just rubbed me the wrong way.
That's the point. How do you want to be rubbed, Tom?
I want, give me a little, spit on it first, and
No.
wrong.
You gotta roll with that route, bro.
Yeah. If there ain't smoke, you're not doing it
Tom,
right.
you gonna spit on it for the cow that you're jerking the nipples off, or what?
Well, of course, yeah. So
I got a cow question. So this actually came up last night with my wife. I was like, oh, what did I say? I thought udders were like penises, right? I thought there was just like a big like thing of like a lot of penises, but that's probably the bull that has the penis,
well,
right?
if you ask Tom,
yes.
If you ask Tom, that's pretty much what it is. You're just jerking off a cow to get milk,
right? Get it all over your tits and.
Which I replied, "Your poor wife."
Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen Kingpin?
Yep.
Yeah, where he says he milked the cow, comes with a bucket, and says, "Oh, I milked the cow. It took a real long time, but here it is." It's like, oh, we have a bull. It's drinking from the bucket. Oh shit!
Wait, Kyle, did you say you haven't seen Kingpin either?
I have not, no. But now I think I want to.
It's Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray at their fucking peak.
Yeah.
There was, I don't remember what it was a commercial for, but there was a commercial in like the early mid '90s where that was like the punchline of the joke. The guy's like, "I'm gonna go out and milk this cow," and the old farmers are like, and they're like, "Should we tell him it's a bull?"
That is very funny. I'm probably late to the party on that joke.
The shit
but
you could put
I
on
like it.
The shit you could put on TV back then.
Although I have seen Jackass #2 where they made Steve-O drink bull semen. So that's close, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's in the family.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of bull semen.
So better than olives.
Yeah,
so you and your wife were talking about cows, Kyle. I want to kind of figure how this conversation ended.
Well, no, I was wondering because I've never seen cows have sex, right? So I was kind of wondering how that worked. But I think they like kind of just do it manually, right? Yeah. Like humans do. Yeah. So
bulls, I don't know how I know
this.
Just
kind of mosey on up from behind, and they got like the arms out, like woo.
They hop on, do their business, and move on.
Yeah, that's what I do, and maybe that's why it doesn't happen as often. That's like, maybe it's
woohoo. That doesn't. Yeah, it's probably not the best noise to make.
That doesn't do it. I grew up in dairy farmland. Like that was the big thing. Like in the area I grew up was like maple syrup and a lot of dairy farms. So you see it all the time. You come up over the hill, cows fucking.
I like it. Well, I know what I'm researching after this.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you guys. Who is your favorite NWA Southern champion?
It's definitely not Lex Luger.
Definitely not Larry Zbyszko.
I just thought
I've got no idea. Is that what this long ass promo was about? Because I couldn't make out what the guy was saying, and he's just like rattling off names. I'm like, is this supposed to be about like the lineage of this belt? Like, I had no idea.
So yeah, the whole thing is, I guess is it the Southern champion? Is that
so,
right?
Yeah.
Which is some obscure NWA title, I guess. But I guess Steve Corino is that champion. He comes out wearing that belt.
That's any NWA title.
Well, so Steve Corino's like, he's basically shitting on the Ring of Honor title because the lineage so far is Samoa Joe, who's in this match, so he's kind of just poking at him. Low Key, who is Steve Corino's tag team partner in 0-1, I guess, and Xavier, who he's like playing it off like nobody knows who that is. Well, I should say who's in this match. So it's Steve Corino versus CM Punk versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe. So a very star-studded four-way match here. Pretty much the four top guys in Ring of Honor at this point.
CM Punk and Steve Corino look way too similar for me. Like they look like they could be a tag team.
Yeah,
and they were pretty soon after this, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they're like the cousins, right? Like Steve Corino's like the older cousin who's like, "Stop copying me," and Punk's like, "I'm gonna do what I want." You didn't have some dude yelling at you to die on your way down to the ring.
What the hell was that? Brundan, was that you? Were you yelling at CM Punk?
No, I had hair back then.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nick. Okay. I want to remember that.
Oh, you said it before. Yeah, I forgot.
Nick something. Yeah, he really hated CM Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the first show I saw him yell at him.
I hope somebody's tracking that guy because that is a red flag scheme.
Right, that's a big red flag.
Yeah,
it's
his
like,
heart.
Sir, we got you on tape.
But it's a non-title match.
Kudos to Punk kudos to Punk for just like looking at him, because I'm looking for like the whisper, like, do good, like, what's your problem?
It was like he was staring at him like, how long is he gonna do this? But he stopped.
I had
right. He's got the customer service look where it's like, you bet, guy, you just keep going.
I used to collect like wrestling MVs or videos or whatever back then, and I had one that ended with that clip on it of him just screaming, "Die, die, die!"
That's GIF potential for sure.
It went uncomfortably long. And it's like, because it's going to keep going as long as he stands there. And like, he's just standing there.
You want to talk about uncomfortably long?
And this dude is just like,
yeah, I mean,
all in.
From the time the entrances started to the time the bell rang had to be like 30 minutes, because you had that.
Yes.
And then you had Steve Corino's introduction, which is a thing he's been doing at this point. He brings his personal ring announcer, Bobby Cruz, who would end up being the full-time guy. He's basically, because he's wearing the NWA Southern Championship, and he's, like I said, he's shitting on the Ring of Honor title.
That was Bobby Cruz?
Yeah,
sure
that was his. Carino had his brought in his own guys, so he had his
young boys with him.
Yep.
A Japan wrestling cosplayer, this Steve Corino is. Let me tell you,
Steve Corino, Ichiban at that point.
Oh God, asshole. But he's basically saying the Ring of Honor title doesn't mean anything, and this match is non-title, by the way. He's saying the Ring of Honor title doesn't mean anything, which obviously irks Samoa Joe, the Ring of Honor champion. And he's like, the NWA Southern champion has been held by many greats. And then Bobby Cruz proceeds to run down seemingly every person that's ever held that title ever. Just when you think he's done, he just keeps naming guys.
The other people in the ring are like laying down and like,
Joe's laying down,
taking a load off. Like,
I believe at one point, I don't know if they show it, but I believe Joe is taking pictures of Daniel.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, he was taking the camera guy's camera. He was filming stuff, and
so good.
Yeah,
I just had to chuckle at the Lex Luger thing, because this is like 6 months after he killed Elizabeth.
Oh, is that why the crowd booed him so hard?
It was super fresh. I was like, this might be too soon.
Oh, wow. That makes a lot of sense. Because everybody else got like a smattering of applause, and then Luger just goes, boo! It was like, wow.
I have a feeling it wouldn't have been that bad. Like, if it was 6 months before that, he hadn't killed Luger. But, the ROH fans don't seem like crossover Lex Luger fans, though. Either.
Right. Actually, this is just popping in my mind, Brundan. Were you there? Was the Rexplex where Jeff Hardy made his debut in Ring of Honor?
Oh, yes, it was.
What the fuck did Jeff Hardy do to you?
I wasn't even one of the people. I was laughing.
Don't lie to me.
My ass off when he.
You were chanting. You got fired along with everybody else. I know you were.
I was definitely chanting. We want Matt. That's for sure.
Okay.
I was front row in that one.
You instigated it. You piece of shit.
I didn't have to.
Willow didn't do anything to you.
We got to bring up the tape. We got to zoom in on Brundan and see if he's he's chanting.
I think the only time you can see me, because I was like in a corner, is during the Carnage Crew match. I gave Masada a chair, which my chair, and which unfortunately he got put through right away. But
you just don't help anybody.
Nobody puts Brundan in a corner.
Yeah. They had to stand for 3 matches.
Bastards.
Oof.
Yeah.
Actions have consequences, man. Let me tell you. But yeah, all the people that have held that title get listed off by Bobby Cruz. Takes forever, but eventually ends. And by the way, also another problem I have with Steve Corino. His weight. He said his weight is announced in kilograms, which just makes him an asshole to me. I don't know. That just made me really mad. Just he comes out to streamers and the young boys. Oh, I'm a Japanese wrestler. Fuck off. Which I don't even know. Are Japanese
the jacket? And he's got
mask.
He's got the jacket. He's like the mask.
He
gets like caught up in his hair, and he's like
he was full time and big deal in 0-1 at that point.
He's a 0. Steve Corino is just 1-0. He is, huh? That's something.
The Steve Corino.
He's a fan of the drawn out entrances, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's done this before.
That's not changed.
Well,
because in mine and Tom's 2013, whenever he inducts Matt Hardy, it's always like, oh my god, is he going to shut the fuck up? Like,
So there was another one. I think it might have already passed or not, where he did his entrance and he was fighting CM Punk, and he's talking about his thing was like the great wrestlers that he taught or that he patterns himself about, and all
Real
of them,
men.
yeah, but all of them are, you could tell, are drug addicts and drunks and everything. And then Punk comes out with his list, and he's like, "Here's a list of drugs I'm never gonna do," and it's another like 10 minutes of
and then the crowd like pops for the drugs that they like.
Yeah.
Marijuana, woo! But then Zyrtec gets like nothing.
Yeah, seriously, what the hell?
Do we ever
They get a reaction now?
Yeah.
Do we ever get any Steve Carino and Samoa Joe matches at all?
They were supposed to have one. I don't think they ever had like a singles match, but Joe versus Punk 2 was actually supposed to be Joe versus Carino, and it got changed a week or two before that because Carino got pulled from the show by 0-1.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, that's surprising. I guess Carino had never faced Daniels either up to this point, so there was like a big build up for that. Like it's a 4-corner match. So at first, there's two people on the aprons, I guess, waiting for tags or whatever, these metaphorical tags. So Carino and Daniels face off, and then Punk Pearl Harbor jobs Daniels, which is a fun way to start this match. But then the match happens ultimately, finally. Pretty fun stuff here. I mean, it was 4 top level guys, so it's not like the spot fest that a lot of these 4-corner matches generally are. But I thought it was fun. It had a fun pace to it. Pretty good drama. You had a bunch of different webs of storylines. Like Punk and Carino had their match at the last show, which ended up being a draw, but then they ended up kind of being friends afterwards, and they kind of worked together in this match, but there's a ton of miscommunication, so it's like they're not meant to team up with each other. And then you have the Prophecy and the Second City Saints are feuding, which is obviously Punk and Daniels are the leaders of those, and then Joe's the champion, and everybody wants his title. So there's a lot of different interwebbing things here, but match itself, I don't know. What'd you guys think? Anything in particular catch your eye about this one?
Of course, Samoa Joe dives over the top rope. I mean, because a guy his size should be doing things like that, but
over the top too, because he always does a suicide dive, but he like leaped and did like a spin over the top rope and did like a trust fall onto everybody. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And listen, this is like Will had mentioned earlier, the commentary really, helping the history, for someone that wasn't familiar with this whole situation. So, yeah, this is a lot of fun, unless it's 4 superstars, doing what they do. So it's just hard to imagine that Christopher Daniels didn't get that Ring of Honor title until like 2018.
Right.
He just came off a match with Samoa Joe. I think it was like 2 months before that, where it's like at that
Glory by
time,
Honor.
like the biggest. Yeah. Do you remember you just watched that one?
Yeah, not too long. It was a few months ago at this point.
Do you remember they rang the bell early?
Yes.
That was
after,
a
like,
guy.
An Angel Swings or something.
Yep, that was the guy who rang the bell early. Actually, went to high school with a whole bunch of my friends.
What a fun niche guy to know.
You could see the ring announcer screaming at him right after he did that too.
I need to have him on the podcast. His thoughts on that.
I think this match, like live for me, didn't really like hit. Only because like the stuff beforehand, I mean, everything combined was like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So it kind of, I think I just got like tired it out after a while.
Probably the intro, right? Like I get
the
gimmick,
intro.
But also
the intro
it's like,
was fun, but by the time the match started, and it was a 20-minute match.
It's brutal to sit. Even just watching it was tough to get through.
Yeah, it's a long segment without like a break in between.
Yeah, I had to break. Yeah, I had to break it up too. So I watched the intro and then I just turned it off before the match started. I'm like, I'll watch this.
You know what? I don't even want to watch this match actually.
I couldn't do that live, so.
No, yeah, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I had it running. I got up, walked around a little bit. Oh, they're still talking about Steve Carino. Okay, I can come back.
Went to college, got a degree.
Yeah.
Had a family. They grew up. Went to college. It was still going on.
Still going.
Yep.
But yeah, fun stuff here.
The ending though.
Did you like the ending? Big fan.
I was really curious. So I had the results up just in case I missed like names or whatever, and just because I'm not going to recognize a lot of these people by sight.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really curious. I'm like, it's 4-corner survival. Why does it say 2 people won? And it's funny that you bring up that Punk and Carino had a draw the last show, and now they both get a pin on the same guy, and the ref isn't just like, you both are covering him, you can't do that. It's yeah, you both win.
Everybody wins. Except Daniels.
You win, you get a pin, you get
Yep.
A double Northern Lights from Carino and Punk onto Daniels, and they both pin him, and they both get the win. So kind of further out, I guess they're because they had a match,
and
it was
neither
a draw.
of them are happy about it. They're both like, this is stupid.
Right, but they're like kind of working together, but also like are kind of dicks to each other. But they're like you guys said, they're like kind of the same person, so it's like they're like butting heads in a way.
I think it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing too, because both of them didn't like Daniels, like Punk and Daniels is building, and Carino and Daniels had been building basically since like the first or second show almost.
Yeah. Well, even the sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then,
Yeah.
So fucking John Walters.
Theater School 101.
So let me just
I'm gonna read my lines. Now you read your lines. I'm gonna read more lines to you.
The way this was presented just made me laugh because so we got the Field of Honor, and in Block A, the finalists are gonna face at the next show, I believe, which are Matt Stryker and Xavier. So they're going to face off to win Block A. And it's after that previous match, it cuts to them just face to face in a hallway, in a dark hallway somewhere. And then I think it's Gary Michael Capetta is doing the commentary, like behind the camera. Like, that done 11:28. These two are going to face each other. Like he's doing his ring announcer thing that he used to do. But it's just so cheesy and it's so hilarious. And neither guy's like,
they're like uncomfortably close. It's like, just fucking kiss already. Like,
yeah. They're just staring at each other, not saying anything because so GMC can get his lines in.
I love that line that when Xavier's like, you're nothing. He's like, I'm a champion. Like I've got like the history. Like I'm a proven winner. Oh, sun shines on a dog's ass. It's like that's a good one. Okay.
But it shined on his ass 3 times because he beat you 3 times, Walters. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, I know you beat me 3 times, but give me another match. And Xavier's like, okay, and that's where we're at. So I guess they're gonna face each other again. I forget. Was there like a stipulation they said, or is it just gonna be?
Yeah, it was a fight without honor when they had their last match. So they're basically no holds barred.
So the code of honor doesn't apply. You're saying?
Yes,
they don't have to shake hands. That's pretty tawdry.
Fight without honor, so there's no disqualification. Like there already isn't. Perfect.
Tribal combat, I think, is what the match is going to be.
Ooh.
Chicago street fight. Yeah, Texas street fight. Elizabeth street fight. Keep going.
Well, Chicago street fight.
What a loss though that there was no retort to the sun shining on dogs' assholes. They didn't go, yeah, water's wet, I'm
going to use that phrase. I'm going to find situations in life to use that phrase and just confuse everybody I talk to. But they also here, we got some Rob Feinstein here on our screen. For a quick little seg. Quick little seggy here. So he's announcing Ring of Honor's first ever double shot weekend. So it'll be 11/28 and 11/29. There'll be 2 shows. One show will be main evented by Raven versus Punk, which, from my understanding, is their final match. A lottery from hell match. Lottery from hell, not a cage match. It's a lottery from hell. Clockwork Orange House of Fun. No DQ. No holds barred match. So that's a thing. And also, and then the next night on the 29th, Homicide and Steve Carino are going to face off in a no rope barbed wire match, which sounds pretty nutty. I've never seen that, so I'm sure that'll be
it's a treat.
Quite something, yeah, because they've had some bloody ass fights before, and now it's add barbed wire to the mix.
Yeah, that's I would recommend anybody to watch that one. That was a hell of a match.
Can't wait. But you know what else is a hell of a match? Bryan Danielson versus AJ Styles in the main event of this show. And this is for the #1 contendership trophy. Now, Will, right? You said you didn't see this match.
I didn't get to watch it all the way through.
Well, I strongly recommend it because
I saw the first
really
like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
it's still queued up on the TV. Like it's happening tonight.
Right. And
Good.
I just assumed I'd be able to get through a match before we started recording, and I was wrong.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, Bryan Danielson's returned here because he hasn't been in Ring of Honor in like 5 or 6 months at this point. Was he been in Japan?
I think it was England. He went over to on a he did like the All-Star Wrestling, whatever the Regal tours used to be or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Where you
So
wrestle.
it's not because he's hurt. It's not because he's hurt or anything. He was just
no. He literally was just like over in Europe wrestling, becoming a better Bryan Danielson. Yeah, that's for sure.
Real quick, actually, I forgot to mention when they're announcing the dates, but I guess on the 28th show, they're having AJ and Joel versus the Briscoe brothers too.
I was at that one. That's right. I actually won tickets to that one.
Hell yeah!
They mentioned there's a previous Bryan Danielson versus Paul London match, which could be addressed at a later time. I've never seen it, Kyle. So I think that's already happened, Kyle. So you've seen that, right?
Great match. It's it's either 2 out of 3 falls or an Iron Man match. I think that was the last match he had before this one.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's the first match I remember ever seeing dueling chants in. It might have been the first time that ever happened.
Right. Do you remember what the show was called, Brundan, by any chance? It was like based around that match.
Yeah.
If you look, I think it's on YouTube in full, I believe. I could be wrong.
It's not
about that.
at our best. Something. It was something like I think it was like in a June or something like that.
All right. Yeah. But it was a fantastic match. It was like a decently long match. I think it was 2 out of 3 falls, but it was amazing.
And I think it moves on from that. Like it was a #1 contenders match, and that's how London gets his title match and goodbye against Joe.
Right.
Spoiler.
So, definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it before.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that off air. Is all I'm going to say right now. So
hell yeah, brother. But yeah, Bryan Danielson's back. Gosh, man, he's just. First of all, you guys said, I mean, he hasn't aged a day since 2003. But also, man, here he's just so like, I love like the charisma's coming off. Because I remember back in the day hearing about Bryan Danielson and everybody's like, he's just a bland vanilla midget. He has no charisma. But god damn it, he's talking shit to AJ throughout this entire match. Definitely at the crowd too. What did you tweet?
What the fuck do you know about pro wrestling?
So good. Oh man!
Thank God that wasn't at me.
Yeah.
I was ready to ask. I'm like, Brundan, was it you? Were you talking smack during the main event?
Hell no! I would never talk smack to either of these guys because I'm sure AJ's yelled at his share of fans as well.
Oh, we yelled a few things in this match, which we can touch on. So like I see this on paper and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be like a very fast-paced, very high-impact type of match. But ultimately it ends up being, so like there's one point in the match, like in the beginning, AJ backs Bryan into the corner, but then Bryan, like, instead of a clean break, he hits him with like an elbow, like a cheap shot-ish kind of elbow, and then like the whole tone of the match changes. I feel like this whole match was like very gritty and like very aggressive. Like there wasn't fancy moves particularly. It was just really stiff and really just like there was like urgency and it was like very intense. Like intent behind everything.
You said it gets chippy. Like there's that one move where it's like, all right, okay.
He's like, yeah, kick me. Is that as hard as you can kick me? And he kicks him in the head and knocks him out. It was like, so good.
These are two guys. I feel like the way they wrestle and the way they fight. You know, they feel like they're bigger than they are. If that makes sense. Like
no, for sure.
You see that they can go up against bigger guys, and it's absolutely believable.
Yeah.
Like you'd see him in a bar, be like, oh, whatever, I can take it.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're laying on your ass. Like,
oh yeah,
that's a nice ceiling fan.
It's always the small guys.
Yeah,
they're beefy.
I really like the spot where
it's the feel, right? Because it's like they're not heavyweight wrestlers per se, but like they carry that heavyweight stature to them. Like
right,
there's that there's that level of charisma and confidence and just like the acceptance of the crowd. It's like this is like the main event.
They
Like,
know how
they're-
to,
like,
yeah. They know how to
these are
make
the
everything
big dogs
mean.
of this yard.
Yeah.
I mean, the atmosphere in the beginning, before these guys even locked up, I mean, there were dueling chants. The atmosphere of this match in particular, I mean, I don't know if Brundan, if you remember specifically, but
This was
yeah,
people were clamoring for this
loud,
match. Me too.
excited,
So,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, two of the best guys in the world at that point. Why wouldn't you want this match?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it spilled outside quickly, and like Will said earlier, it got chippy in a hurry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I love what
That shin breaker on the barricade and like zoom in. It's like he's got his knees busted open. It's like that's uncomfortable. Like
That was a sharp barricade.
You want to gig the forehead or whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen that, but it's like, oh, dude, like cut the fuck up out of the dude's knee. That sucks.
Yeah. And then Danielson ties Styles' arm up in the cables, starts kicking the shoulder and everything. So
right. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. That Bryan attacks AJ's arm throughout this entire match, whereas AJ ends up suplexing Bryan to the outside, and Bryan kind of tweaks his knee, and this is when it sparks him dropping him knee first onto the barricades, really just ripping him into the barricade, just brutal. In the ring, like I said, AJ's like kicking Bryan in the leg, and Bryan's like, "Come on, AJ, hit me, you pussy." Which is just funny to hear Bryan Danielson talk like that. I don't know why. Kicks him in the head. Bryan's these forearms he's throwing, like he's trying to knock his head off. One off the second rope, just a flying one, and a flying headbutt by Bryan for a 2 count. Also, it's a really impressive like deadlift back suplex off the second rope onto AJ from the apron. That's a big chunk of the match here. And ultimately, Bryan has AJ in an arm bar that AJ fights out like while Bryan still has the arm locked and kind of hits a Styles Clash, like a half a one, but then picks him up and hits a second big one, and that gets the win. It really had to fight for it too. It really had to struggle for that Styles Clash, which I liked. And that's kind of what this whole match felt like. It felt like a struggle between two guys who wanted to kick the shit out of each other. And ultimately, AJ wins, new number one contender. But I felt like both guys came off like stars ultimately. So big fan.
Well, that's the Cornette like kind of methodology, right? It's like it should feel like a fight. It should feel like a real struggle.
Do you think Jim Cornette's presence here influenced this match at all? Like maybe he was talking to him backstage.
No, I wouldn't know enough about like what their other matches in this time were looking like to say one way or the other.
Yeah,
because I didn't know how involved Cornette was in like the booking aspect of Ring of Honor.
He wasn't
time,
at this point. He wasn't
on air.
Yeah, he wasn't involved for a few years, I believe, in the in Ring of Honor booking. He just at that time he was just taking outside bookings.
Right.
Have these two faced each other before Ring of Honor?
They have. It's been a while. I want to say it's been at least a year since these guys faced. But their first match was awesome as well. So, I mean,
shocker.
Yeah.
No.
Spoiler alert. I think it was in 2002, and it was one of the better 2002 matches for sure. So another one I'd recommend for sure.
Just two of the best in the world. I mean, literally, and still to this day.
Yeah.
Still, obviously AJ is kind of slowed down a little bit, but
he's just modified his style. It's still good.
You're working that WWE style. You don't have to go 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. And like, so Kyle, we kind of talked a little bit in the DMs, but I mean, AJ Styles, I mean, he bet on himself. He had he was in WCW, he was in WWE. He's like, nah, man, I'm going to go tour the world. And, he got back there 14 years later, but what a fucking run that guy had. So,
yeah.
Already in TNA, already been the TNA or the NWA champion in TNA at this point. So he's already kind of solidified his place there, but he's still in Ring of Honor. They're still bouncing back and forth between, but.
Yeah, they hadn't pulled everybody yet.
Right. That wouldn't be till like 05, 06 or something, I think. So.
No, actually, it's only a couple of months away because they pulled them all after the Rob Feinstein scandal, which is maybe like 2 or 3 months away. When
Oh, it's that close. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. LOL. I thought you said 18 is only 4 months away or something like that. I remember it was right before a big show.
Right.
So it might even
That's
be
crazy.
closer. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep an eye out for that. Jeez, I didn't realize it was so close. Just makes that
Well,
Rob Feinstein
and
promo earlier that much more
Yeah.
cringe.
And they're both, so, I mean, obviously they're younger, right? Because this is 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
it's like, even then, like, they both look so young. And it's like, if Daniel Bryan now was telling somebody, hit me harder, you fucking pussy, you'd be like, okay, but it's like, this kid's like 12.
Yeah.
Why is he, what's his issue?
Bryan's probably only like 22 at this point, too. He started at 18. He was signed at 19 in our WWE. He had the Shawn Michaels
He's got his
developmental
plain
deal.
blue gear.
Yeah.
He's doing the goofy like crane pose where he's not like super balanced, so he's kind of like wobbling all over the place.
Dude,
Yeah.
I need bald Bryan Danielson. Like, I'm so sick of this goody two shoes, blue tights, white tights guy. I need maroon tights. I need bald. I need pasty Bryan. But
The beard is coming.
Cattle mutilations.
Yeah.
Give it to me. Give it to me, daddy. Cattle sex? I don't know. What were we talking about earlier? Is that how they mutilate cattle? I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's some stuff in the end. We have Colt Cabana segment, good times, great memories with the Carnage crew. I kind of zoned out during this. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts
at the strip club. So that at the strip club poem was actually pretty funny.
Well, go check it out, people.
And then Jim Cornette's getting all lippy with Samoa Joe, and then Samoa Joe just happens to show up. But
best ending to a Ring of Honor show that I've seen so far. It's Jim Cornette backstage with the new tag champs, the Briscoes. Gary and Michael Capetta's like, "Oh, Jim Cornette, well, aren't you worried about Samoa Joe?" And then Cornette's like, that 2-bit Hawaiian coconut eater, Then he's talking shit to Samoa Joe, and then Samoa Joe's on the other side of the door, and then Samoa Joe walks into the locker room, closes the door behind him, and then you hear a bunch of scuffling, which who knows what he did to Jim Cornette. I'm not going to ask any questions. Talk about cattle mutilation, but see, I like that. I just have that clip of you doing that.
They had that bit backstage, right, where he's like, he's just kind of talking to the camera, and Joe's like, "Shut the fuck up.
Right.
I'll give you an answer later."
Oh,
he's
he
like,
gave him his answer.
Like, no, later. End of the show.
You don't even have to watch the Bryan AJ match. Just go watch that segment. But ultimately, after that sodomy commences, that's the show. So main event spectacles 2003. Any other thoughts on this show overall? Anything we missed?
No, I really, really enjoyed this. I mean, Kyle, thank you obviously for having us on. I mean,
definitely.
But I just kind of wish they would have cut 5 minutes off that Steve Corino promo and get it to the main event. It was a tad short. Like when I was watching, like the time, like before that, I'm like, oh wow, or like Styles and Danielson, you got like an hour?
Mm-hmm.
No,
I think this might be the shortest show they've done so far.
Okay,
about 2 hours 45, somewhere like that.
Yeah, but no, it was great. I mean, it definitely hit a second gear after the Briscoes match, and there wasn't a bad spot on it. Obviously, the Matt Striker and Just Incredible were kind of the downer match, but that was super solid. So, yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed this. So, thank you again.
Yeah, man.
No, this was fun. So now I've seen like this era of Ring of Honor. I've seen, because I've kind of like when I first got into Ring of Honor, it's kind of around-ish, a little later than where Tom and I are at now on Ring of Honor Revelry, but it's like that kind of Ring of Honor. And then I really got into Ring of Honor when they brought back the Pure tournament, and they did like the pandemic era, the bubble Ring of Honor,
right?
And I got super into it there. So I even tweeted about it. I'm like, how the camera quality for the show is way better than like what Tom and I are watching now. It's like they got money and shit got worse. What happened?
Don't know, man. Don't know. The audio too. I noticed a lot of current independent shows. Like the audio is always awful, but this one wasn't great either. But it was a little better than some other modern companies.
But it was a real treat. Like I said, there was a handful of people I knew, but there was a lot. Most of the people on the show I had not seen before. Maybe I had heard of before, so it was cool to kind of go back and I hear Brundan and I hear the Wizards talk a lot about like the Jersey guys and stuff like that, so to be able to kind of get a slice of that.
Right.
very cool.
Matt from the Shining Wizards is not a big Special K fan, so don't go to him for any thoughts on them.
We'll have to talk about that one day. Yeah, this is, when I think of Ring of Honor, this is definitely what I think of a lot is, this era of Ring of Honor, because this is when, I watched pretty much from the beginning, but this is when I started going to their live shows and everything and really falling in love with the product. Like, guys were coming into their owns, like the Punks and Bryans and Joe. His reign was, even though it was a couple of good amount of months into it, it was really like flying on all cylinders. So this is a treat, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is an era where they're definitely ramping up for some really good stuff coming in 04, but they're definitely figuring stuff out at this point, which is interesting to see. You can maybe say that they're having revelry in it. They're revelry.
Oh, the revelry. Yeah.
But if you people listening want to revel in some stuff, you want to revel in Ring of Honor, I suggest you go check out the ROH Revelry podcast on the Shining Wizards Network.
Oh, shucks,
come on now. Come on.
Stop.
Didn't even see it coming. But first of all, appreciate you guys making the time to check out the show and come on talk about it. Where can everybody find you and taste your delicious voices?
Anybody want to go first?
Well, Tom, if you want to go into the Shining Wizards Discord, Tom posts where he walks every night, so you can figure out exactly where Tom is.
Now's the time to strike.
But we are on wherever you get your podcasts. We're in the Visionaries Global Media feed as well as the Shining Wizards feed. So plenty of great shows on both those networks. So subscribe to both of them. You'll find something that you like. We are not super active on the Facebook and Instagram yet, kind of still figuring that kind of stuff out. But Tom and I are both on the Twitter at ROH Revelry.
Yeah, it only
again, like
took us a year and a half to even get Twitter.
I'm not saying it's largely a shit post account, but when I'm on there, odds are I'm gonna some semi shit post, or I'm gonna like ding Tom about something, or. But we do have a pinned tweet because we do a bit our question of dishonor. Brundan sends us a question every week, but if you want to submit a question, it can be about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be wrestling related. Rob from Untanking the Territories always sends the head scratchers because we gotta like work a little bit to get to answer some of them times because he guys was like, who'd be the fire marshal in Ring of Honor? It's like, what is he talking?
That's when I realized I was like, these don't really have to be about wrestling. Like, listen to all these Rob questions.
Oh, you're gonna get a bunch of lollipop questions now from me. So, and anybody that listens to this.
Yeah. Ever since you guys started taking the pinned tweet questions, I was like, shit, I really got to step up my game.
And
it's okay. I mean, and there's plenty of time. I mean, Tom and I are only at 2013. I mean, there's still a lot of Ring of Honor to get to.
At least
we haven't figured out what we're gonna do when we get to when there's no Ring of Honor. Like, are we just gonna jump? Are we just gonna like do whatever?
We're just talking about Ring of Honor on Honor Club, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag not my Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor Elevation.
Hashtag gotta watch it.
Yeah. And Olive suck. All right, we'll stop the recording there.
Ooh.
Once again, thank you to Brundan, Will, and Tom from the ROH Revelry podcast, from the Shining Wizards Network. Couple of great boys. Always a good time. Well, it's the first time I've had them on. But I guess still always a great time with them. Definitely will be bringing them back. Good old time talking some Ring of Honor from 2003. Go follow them. All their info in the description below. The Shining Wizards Network is it's a gem in podcasting. Very entertaining stuff. Follow me at Apron Bump if you want. Don't blame you if you don't. And yeah, I think that's about all, Daddy. Why keep you? I mean, unless you want to hang around, which there's this huge spider outside my window. I don't want to like turn my camera around, but like, that's a thick ass boy. It's got some spider web action. Man. I hope there's no way it can get in here. Now it's just like I feel like I'm making eye contact with it. I guess I can stop recording now, huh? Thank you guys so much for listening. I love you all. I'm gonna go do some moonsaults off a cage and then puke everywhere. So, but other than that, have a great day, everybody. Bless you all. God bless America. God bless Special K. I am hard.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started.